Hi, David.
Hi, Shailan.
Afternoon, everybody. So I'm joined by, I'm Shailan Sama. I'm joined by David. And today we're going to walk through, we've done a couple before, but today we're walking through Power Apps. Power Apps being part of the Power Platform. And Power Apps is really that low code, I don't really want to say no code, low code, low cost, because originally they did say no code, but low code, low cost application development environment as part of Microsoft's Power Platform. And Power Apps is really aimed at rapid kind of application development. There's a rapid application development. Is that okay, David? Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you okay. Yeah.
Okay, perfect, yeah.
You just muted yourself, Shailan.
Technical.
That sounds better.
Does it sound better?
That sounds better, yeah.
Okay. Okay, if that sounds better, that's good. So low code, low cost application development, Power Apps. And Power Apps is part of the Power Platform. You can start with templates. You can start with kind of a blank screen. David is going to demonstrate an app for us. But what I am going to do is now launch and log into the Power Platform. So if I actually share my screen, can you see that, David?
I can see that, yeah.
Perfect. Okay. So when you log into your Power Apps environment, so again, same thing, make.powerapps.com, make sure you're in the correct environment. Now, we haven't covered a lot of things around environments. When we did the overview, we covered a few of the environments, different environments you can have. But from an environment perspective, I've just logged into this one or launched this one, Clearly Cloudy Sandbox, old apps. I can go into our default, suggest you don't really develop in your default environment, but you can create other environments. Now, within this environment,
Shailan, just to
side,
stop you there, it was showing my screen on the present. Do you mind if we share?
is that better?
Right. That's better, yeah. Go for that. Yeah.
Back on again?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, good.
Yeah. And okay, so did you see this? The environment. So I've logged into my Power Apps, Make.Power Apps, and one of the environment I'm looking at is the Clearly Cloudy Sandbox environment. On the left-hand side, we know, and I can tell you that Dataverse has been enabled because I can see tables. But the other thing that we can see are apps on the left-hand side. So if you wanted to develop or create a new app, you can start from a blank app. Don't worry, David, I'm not doing too much here. If I click on apps, then again, I can then say create a new app. There are 3 different apps or app types you can actually create. So there's something known as a Canvas application or a Canvas app. It has 2 form factors. It has a tablet or a mobile factor. So that's your Canvas app. There's something called a model driven, which is like a form based application. It's great for looking at data and great for entering data. And then there's the website app. Okay, so that is if you create a Power App based on a website, which is known as Power Apps or Power Pages. used to be known as Power Portal. That's great for external access. If you develop either Canvas or model driven, you cannot enable those externally, i.e. if you try and share the app externally, they will require a Power Apps login within your domain or tenant. If you create one as a website, i.e. a page or a portal, then that's the way to allow external access. So they can actually log in as they're with their Microsoft ID or a guest account, and they can log into a portal or a page. So with apps, if I actually create a new app as a Canvas app, what will happen is it will give me those two options, either a tablet or a phone. So if I said test 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, call it, and said let's go with a tablet app, create. Now what happens is it will open up the design area, and within this the design, on the left hand side there's all of the navigation, and you get a tree view. In the middle we've started with a blank canvas. That's exactly what it is. So if you were to add any data or connect to data, you can click on these buttons because they're trying to make it easy by saying connect to data. But on the left you can click on this data tab and you can add data from here. Now if you select add data, in the list first of all, if Dataverse has been enabled for that particular environment, these are your Dataverse tables. If you click on see all tables, all of the tables will be there. You can search. So if I actually said, let's take a look at accounts, I'll connect it to that, okay, to the accounts information. What's happening is it's actually creating a connection from this Power App to Dataverse now. So Dataverse being a repository. So that's what it's done there. The next part is if you want to look at some data, well, this is where you can drag some information in, or you could say insert some kind of control. And if I insert, let's do a data table. Okay, so if I said data table, there's my data table, and I'm going to connect now some data from the accounts table. So I'm going to click on this. And there we go. It's now connected Power Apps to the accounts information. There's some contact information as well because there was a relationship, but it's connected to the accounts information within Dataverse. And there's kind of my first, I'd say great form, but anyway, I know you like it, David. So I'd say, yeah, so there's our first form, right? It's just a grid, and it's a grid showing this. Now, if you want to add buttons to do things, and you add some colors and branding, yes, you can do all of that. I'm going to show one other thing, David, before you show off with your app.
Okay.
So the other thing I'd like to show is that's creating an app based off, just a blank canvas. If you'd like to create, well, you can do create here, an app based off templates, you can. There are quite a few templates available. So if you wanted to create a template for an asset management thing, you could do that. A training, budget tracker, help desk, leave requests, employee engagement survey. By clicking on any one of these, you give it a name, you say create. I will try it, David. By the way, those templates are only available if or when you create the environment, there is a checkbox, a radio button that says, allow sample templates. That's fine. Now, and then the templates are available. So I've created an app based off a template. Yes, I still need to connect it to data, etc. But what we do have now is a whole bunch of screens available. So there's our landing screen, there's our question 1, question 2. If you wanted to change anything, so question 1, if you wanted to change the look and feel of this, the button to say, well, I don't want to use that color, I want to use a different color. yeah, go and change the color. Okay, yeah, to whatever you wanted. If you wanted to change any of the buttons or information on here, you can do that. But using the templates is a good way to start. And I really mean to start, because unless you really just go with that app, you'd probably find that you need to customize it in some way. Is that okay, David?
Yeah, that looks good.
Right.
That leads
So
on to
what I'm going to do is I will stop and I'm going to hand over to you, David. Okay. So,
okay. So fine. Okay. Let me share my screen then.
Yeah.
I present.
So on the slide, this is the area we're on, and those three options that you saw there, Canvas, model driven, portals or website, they're the different app types. So I will add yours to the stream.
Okay.
Okay,
Cool.
we can see it.
Yeah. Okay. Can everybody see it? Can you see the app, Shailan?
Yep, I can see it.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So I'm just going to do a quick run through of an app, an example, test app, whatever you call it, that I've built. This is just, I mean, it's basically enables you to record customers and then the agents, sales agents that are associated or looking after that particular customer. So there are 3 different screens that I've set up in here. And then each of these buttons, and these are just big buttons that enable you to navigate to the different screens. So if I click on this first one, I can click through to a screen that now shows me all the different customers that I have. You can set the screens up in multiple different views. What I've used here is a gallery, but you could use a more sort of tabular format. I've set this up so to make it searchable. So I could say, for example, search for Terry. And then this just shows a brief overview of the records against Terry. So you've got a name, where she's located. This is a sort of, sorry?
Where's the location?
So Terry's located in Woking, that's close to London. Yeah, that just shows a brief overview. And on this level, it's a brief sort of top overview level of the record. If I wanted to see more information, I can go into to view the full details of the record. So if I click this arrow, we can now see various other bits of information. So obviously it's got the first and last name, location, passport number is another piece of information that we put in there, what the VIP level is, customer number, and then the agent she's associated with. What I didn't do at the time was fill in the date joined, so we can update the record. So if I wanted to now go and update it, I can go back. And then this pencil icon enables me to update the record. So at the moment, this is just a sort of a default value that when I submit, it won't actually submit the date. So I actually need to select one. So if I select today's date, and then it will leave the time as it is, I can then submit. This is then going to take me back to my record view. So we go back into Terry's record. What we should now see is she's now got a date joined. Then I can then go back again. If I decide, actually, you know what, I don't need Terry's record in there anymore, I can remove a record. So clicking on the dustbin icon will now remove the records, and then Terry's disappeared. You can also add things like drop-down boxes. So this drop-down here is associated with the VIP level of particular customers. So I could select 4, and then it will just show me all those users that have got a 4 against them, or customers have got 4 against them. I can choose to add a new customer. So if I click this button here, this then takes me into a new form control that's blank, that then enables me to add a new customer in. So I can just fill in each of these fields. Do want to, and then add it for me. Can't spell me a name. We'll just put Brighton in there. Passport number. We'll just put myself the top VIP level, and then again, if I press submit, we can now see the new records added. So if I say I'll search for myself, it's this latest record here that was for mine. And then if I wanted to go and view details again, we can see that I forgot to add the date in, but essentially, yeah, so that's now added a new record. This pencil icon should also then take you through to, so if you were in a record and you were looking at the details, you can also go in and it's, so for example, now I've realized, oh, wait a minute, I haven't actually added a date join to myself. So from here, I can go in and then add in, say I joined on the 21st. And if I submit that, it should now take me back. And then if we go in, we can see the date join's been added. If I want to go back to the home screen, I've got this home button here. And then I could then navigate, okay, well, what the sales agents that work for the organization and what are their phone numbers. I've got a Tableau view, so you could just simply put a table in there, and this just shows you the list of sales agents that work for the company, and then the phone number associated with the agent. And that's kind of, this is a very just simple app. So you've got this view customers screen, so you can go in and see all the records that are in there. You could go straight through and go, well, actually, I don't want to view the list. I just want to add a customer straight away. So that would just take you straight to this edit form. But yeah, I mean, this is just a simple app, sort of demonstrate sort of a simple process of being able to add a list of the customers you've got within an organization, and then any details that you associated with them, and how you can go about sort of editing those. But yeah, I mean, it's quite a simple app, but that's kind of how this particular one works. Shailan, I don't know whether there's anything else you wanted to add to that.
No, it looks very good. So where is the data stored in that app?
So the data for this app, if we close this. So if I go to my data sources, there is a spreadsheet that's kept in OneDrive that this particular app is writing to. So
okay,
yeah,
that's
this table one here. So it's using OneDrive as a source for that. And
you could have Dataverse, as we looked at earlier.
Yeah, you can have. I mean, you've got a number of different connectors that you can add in. So yeah, this one's just using a simple spreadsheet as an example. Could use a SharePoint list, could use Dataverse, could have a SQL database, etc.
Cool. That's good. So could you have just right? So we had a question actually. No, I think that looks very good. So when you, one for me, but when you were playing the app, you just press play from the design area, right? And that's how you played the app.
Yeah. So if you wanted to test some functionality, rather than going back out into the environment where the app is, you can simply just go, well, I just want to play the app from here, and then you can do everything from within the development environment. You could also don't actually have to do that. So if I wanted to test a particular control, rather than actually playing the app, if I was here, you can actually if I hold Alt down and I click, for example, on the details, it will enable me to go through, and then I can hold Alt down and go back again to my previous screen. And then, yeah, within the development environment, you can navigate between the screens. I think Shailan was showing. So I can click back through the screens, and then I can select each of my controls. For development purposes, you've got against each control, there are a list of properties. So within here, this is where you can change different properties. So what the color would be if I hovered over it, what happens when I select it. So for example, if I select the box here, I've added some code here which will navigate us to the edit screen. So this is for adding a new customer, and then it just basically it creates a blank form so we can add a new record. But yeah, Shane, sorry, what were you going to say?
So yeah, that's your low code environment, because you have those functions, correct? Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, essentially there are lots of different functions that you can use this
the language?
So it uses the PowerFX language.
Cool. Okay. And how long would it take, David? How long would it take you to develop something like this? Or how long would it take somebody to develop some kind of app? Kind of just a straightforward app. I'm talking about reading information, looking up some data, writing it back. That kind of app.
I mean, in terms of this sort of basic kind of app where you're looking up, writing, editing. I mean, you could do this within. I mean, probably within an hour or so. This kind of app, because there's not a huge amount of functionality to it, but of course, apps grow in complexity, and there's lots you can do within it. But if you wanted something basic, something like this, there isn't too much complexity with any of the code. So it's quite a fast way of building a basic app and then getting functionality that's quite useful quite quickly. So
I think it's pretty cool. I think that's good, and it just shows that you can develop apps quite quickly in a rapid environment, especially if you're working in a kind of agile manner. You can develop these apps pretty quickly and share them within the organization. Correct?
Yeah. So you can then you can provide different groups of users access to the app. So that could be an AD list. It could be individual users, and then you can set different permissions around whether they're just a user of the app or if you want other users to be able to edit things, etc. But I'm not sure we're going into that level of detail today, but those are options that are available.
Yeah, no, I think it's good. So I think that's a good demo. Thank you, David.
Yeah,
so
no problem.
a few questions. Could you have, so like your VIP thing, could you have options instead of just typing in a number?
Yeah, so you could set that up as we go to let's play the app.
You don't have to do that.
I mean, that would be better as well, because then you've got some sort of security or validation on the data, because then if I go here, you could switch out this control to a drop-down box instead, and then you could have
like an option list or something.
Yeah, I mean, do you want me to do that now? Or?
No, don't do that.
So essentially, within this particular part of the form, this has just got the default, which is a text entry box. But you could then, say I wanted to delete that out, you could then choose to insert a different type of control. So you could then have, type in drop down. Yeah, so you could then have a drop down box instead, and then you could just put the list of numbers in there instead. So how we've got, let's go back. Essentially, you could have it set up like this, so that then users can only pick from this list, or you could do it the other way around. So if you wanted to leave it like this, you could then restrict what a user can enter in terms of sort of just numbers only, and then within a particular range, and have messages that would appear to say you can't do what you've done in terms of what you've entered, that sort of thing.
Cool. And there's another question about could this be used as, so you can develop apps, but can you write back and read from other applications? So not Dataverse or Excel or SharePoint lists, but actual applications. So we had a question there. And the answer is yes, you can. So if you just go back, David, to your design screen.
Yeah.
And then if you look at data connectors on the left, your data, and just say add data, just to show people then, as you can search in there, right? So if you just searched SAP, for example, if there is a connector, and we talked about connectors before, if there's a connector, you can actually write an app to read and write information back to other applications. So SAP, try Dynamics. You just search for Dynamics. So there are a whole load of connectors for Dynamics, so Dynamics 365, F&O, customer engagement, Salesforce. And there are online ones as well. So as long as you have a connection and an account with an application, there are ways to create an app using Power Apps to read and write information from other applications and data sources. So you got Salesforce there? Yeah, cool.
Yeah, we got Salesforce in there as well.
And you got your standard database ones, right? So if you just type in SQL is just a standard one of the standard connectors. So you've got SQL Server. In the same way, you've got Oracle and other databases. You've got online databases, Azure ones as well. So yeah, I think that's pretty cool, David. Thank you for that.
Okay, no problem.
I don't think there are any other questions apart from options. Who were asked about options, asked about data sources and connectors. What does licensing look like though? So actually, there was one about licensing earlier. So licensing, I can cover that if you want, David. So licensing. Yep.
Do you want to share your screen or?
I'll just share the slide again.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's back on. From a licensing perspective, so Power Apps, again, as part of the Power Platform, it's a user license or it's an app license. So if you want to share an app, we actually do have a question by somebody else about licensing. Yes, a licensing, it's a user license or an app license. The user license, if it's a Power App canvas or model driven, there'll be an internal license. So for example, if you have individuals internally, they would need a license for Power Apps. Now, it's different based on the geographic region. The easiest way is just go to the Power Apps website to see licensing there, and those are the Microsoft retail prices. Speak to your licensing partner, but they're quite low in terms of an application, and it's really that scale out model. So for a user, I think it works out about £5 or $5 for an app per user per month, and it's all a subscription based license per user per month, and then you can translate that into what it will be for an actual a year. Now, so I say per user will allow a user to use any app developed within your tenant or your organization. Per app means it's based on apps. So how many apps they have access to. Portals or pages, as they're known as now, the website is a different license model because that's aimed for external access. So for people accessing it externally, it's actually done on views, so page views, and that's again on the month. So it starts off with something like 100,000 page views, and I know for the UK region, it starts off at something like £75 per per page per month, and that's quite reasonable when you think about that pricing. And then it goes up to like £150 per month, but that's based on again 100,000 page views, and it does scale up. So we can drop a link in on the post on LinkedIn. I'll drop a link into the actual licensing. Now again, check for your region, but the best way is to look at work with your licensing partner on actual Power Apps licenses. But what Microsoft have done in that terms of that licensing is kind of made it easy for organizations to just share apps across the organization within your organization, and it is it does work out quite cost effective. Obviously it doesn't take into consideration the development, but it does work out quite cost effective. And it's the production environment that you're licensing. So there's different for development or sandbox, because they're not production environments. That's a little bit about licensing. We'll drop in a share about licensing. David, thank you very much. Thank you for the demo. I think it was really good. If there's any other questions, drop them on, ask a question on LinkedIn. Feel free to contact us via LinkedIn. But with that, thank you. Thank you all.
Yep, thanks all.
Cheers, David.
Cheers, Shailan.